Beginning in 1845 and lasting for 6 years, the potato famine killed over 1 million men, women, and children in Ireland and caused another million to flee the country. Ireland in the mid-1800s was an agricultural nation populated by 8 million persons who were among the poorest people in the Western world. A British survey in 1835 found half of the royal families in Ireland living in single-room, windowless mud cabins that didn't have chimneys. Up to a dozen persons lived inside a cabin, sleeping in straw on the bare ground, sharing the place with the family's pig and chickens. The average tenant farmer lived at a subsistence level on less than 10 acres. By law, any improvements they made, such as building a stone house, became the property of the landlord. Thus, there was never any incentive to upgrade their living conditions. Landless laborers often rented small fertilized potato plots from farmers, with a portion of their potato harvest given up as payment of rent. Farmers and laborers alike lived in a state of permanent insecurity, with the possibility always looming that they might be thrown off their plot of land. Both groups were dependent on the potato for their existence. About 1590, potatoes were introduced to Ireland. Farmers quickly discovered they thrived in the country's cool, moist soil with very little labor. And by 1800, the potato had become the staple crop in the poorest regions, with more than 3 million Irish peasants subsisting solely on the vegetable. The famine began quite mysteriously in September 1845. Leaves on potato plants suddenly turned black and curled and then rotted, seemingly the result of a fog that had wafted across the fields of Ireland. The cause was actually an airborne fungus, originally transported in the holds of ships traveling from North America to England. The blight spread through the fields as fungal spores settled on the leaves of healthy potato plants, multiplied, and were carried in the millions by cool breezes surrounding the plants. The attacked plants fermented while providing the nourishment the fungus needed to live, emitting a nauseous stench as they blackened and withered in front of the disbelieving eyes of the Irish peasants. There had been crop failures in the past due to weather and other diseases, but the strange new failure was unlike anything ever seen. The Irish in the countryside began to live off wild blackberries, ate nettles, turnips, old cabbage leaves, edible seaweed, shellfish, roots, even green grass. They sold their livestock, pawned everything they owned, including their clothing, to pay the rent to avoid certain eviction, and then bought what little food they could with any leftover money. Making matters worse, the winter of 1846 and 1847 were the worst in living memory, as one blizzard after another buried homes in snow up to their roots. Many people died not from hunger, but from associated diseases, like typhus, dysentery, fever, and dropsy, and an era when doctors were unable to provide any cure. Many penniless tenants were thrown into jail. Others were sent overseas to British North America. Landlords would make phony promises of money, food, and clothing, then pack half-naked people in overcrowded British sailing ships, poorly built and often unseaworthy, that became known as coffin ships. And so the Great Famine was a period of starvation, disease, and mass immigration between 1845 and 1852, during which the population of Ireland was reduced by 20 to 25%. Approximately 1 million of the population died, and 1 million more emigrated from Ireland's shores. The impact on Irish culture is still felt today.